What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here, and tonight, I'm going to be starting my first of what will be mini superhero fan fiction readings. This comes from fanfiction.net, and there is a lot. So, this takes place in the universe of Percy Jackson and the Olympians and Young Justice. So, I am going to be reading everything, so the bold, which is from the author. So let's just get right into it. Oh, and don't forget me, Victor Zsasz. Yes, Victor. I can take over if you like. No, that won't be necessary. Chapter 1. Right. So there was a 3-way tie on the poll. This is why more people need to vote on those things. So I rolled a die with 2 sides representing each of the 3 winning stories, and this story won, depending on how it is received. Generally, it may be continued, or it could be shoved aside, and another one of the winners will be given a shot. That said, be sure to tell me what you think of this setup chapter, and if you have any suggestions for pairings, note that pairing will likely be a very minor thing in this story, and just because you can give ideas and reasonings for one does not mean it will be utilized. Mom, Dad, Percy, come see this. 7-year-old Estelle Blowfiz yelled from the living room of the Jackson Bullfizz apartment's living room. Groaning, Percy, son. Yeah. Okay. Let's try that again. Groaning, Percy, son of Poseidon, leader of the armies of Olympus, both Greek and Roman, most powerful demigod ever. What? Hold on. Groaning, Percy, son of Poseidon, leader of the armies of Olympus, both Greek and Roman, most powerful demigod ever, I don't think this is a typo. Satyria. And the older half-brother of the, in his opinion, this is making no sense. Far too chipper little angel dragged himself out of bed blurrily when he had first gotten the curse of Achilles. When he was 15, he hadn't noticed how much it made him want to sleep. It wasn't until he had lost it in It wasn't until he had lost it entering New Rome and reclaimed it in the pits of Tartarus that he truly realized how much it sapped his energy. Luckily, splashing his face with some cold water every few hours and sleeping till noon on weekends minimized the curse's side effect. Can I take the next paragraph? Sure. Victor Zaz here, slowly making his way toward the continued exclamations of his sister. Percy took a moment in his dazed state to go over what had happened. The past few weeks he had woken up with no memory, found a New Rome, fought a giant, got his memories back, had a mutual break time agreement with Annabeth, met with his other friends, sailed a flying boat into war, saved Nico from his imprisonment, fell into Tartarus in order to save his ex. Spent, he thinks, 100 years or so fighting and screwing in the pits while surviving off of liquid fire, getting his curse back about halfway through the ordeal, escaped, joined the armies of Olympus in the fight against Gaia, beat the crap out of her in an epic one-on-one final stand, and came here. Yeah, the past... Victor, can I take over? Sure. Yeah, the past mortal year had been pretty freaking insane for Percy. But hey, at least he saved the day and lived to enjoy it. The smile, the thought brought to his face, distracted from the haunting gaze. His time in the pit left him with... He survived, and so did those who cared about gods, titans, monsters, giants, even Primordius. Oh wait. Primordials had done all they could to end his life, yet still he kept kicking while most of them were now gone, hopefully forever. Yeah. You all see the word. Yeah. He was, instead of saying that word, I'm going to use awesome. Awesome. Unfortunately, what he saw when he entered the living room put an instant stop to his good mood. Right there on the screen was a report on the heroics of Estelle's favorite heroine, Wonder Woman. God's Percy hated her. When the Titans returned, she did nothing, not even during the Battle of New York. When the Giants came, she never even showed her face. When Gaia herself began to claw her way back to the surface to wipe out all of humanity, the great Amazon princess did jack crap, and so did all of her them Iserine sisters. She was blessed by who knew how many gods and gifted with strength and powers far beyond what she earned, all because she was a part of the goddess pet project and won some tournament. He, Jason, Nico, Thalia, Hazel, they all trained and fought with everything they had and more to gain half of what she was given. Sure, after his time in the pit, Percy was sure he could match the Amazon blow for blow, and then some, but he went through a century of nonstop conflict, pain, and life-threatening situations. If the oldest living demigod, daughter of Zeus, had bothered to help her mortal family in their times of need, only the Fates knew how many demigods and legionnaires would still be alive. Maybe even Jason would still be alive. Not that the witch even cared enough about her half-brother to even attend his funeral. Why did Estelle have to idolize his cousin? Not that his little sister knew about his familial connection with the Justice Leaguer or his bloodline and feats in general. It just didn't make sense to Percy. Estelle was too young to really care about things like Diana's admittedly stunning beauty or the cultural ideals of the Amazons of Themyscira, Them, Themyscira. So was it the super strength? Superman was stronger and faster. The fighting prowess, both Batman and Black Canary were more skilled. The ability to give a speech and be charismatic. Again, Superman matched her or even beat her there. So why? She's so cool. The young girl yelled as the broadcast showed. The Amazon punch clean through some kind of killer robot, sadly, gave her son a quick glance before seemingly agreeing with her daughter. She is something else, sweetheart, she told her daughter. That's one way to put it. Percy grumbled. Estelle just stuck her tongue out at her brother. No fighting, you two, Paul warned, knowing that the subject of the raven-haired woman tended to cause the two normally close siblings to take up fugitive arms against each other. When did this happen anyway? Percy asked, jerking his chin toward the TV. Like an hour ago, Estelle exclaimed. And it happened in the Brooklyn. Well, and it happened in Brooklyn. That means Wonder Woman is in New York. Her excitement now made a bit more sense. Wonder Woman usually operated out of DC. Why would she be in New York? Percy wondered. Percy wondered out loud. Sure, the city didn't have a Justice League member setting up shop in it, but it did have its own heroes and the special heavy-duty SWAT teams that were set up to take care of most super-level threats. Meant that having a big shot like Wonder Woman wasn't really needed. Maybe the gods had summoned her for something or another. I'm sure she has her reasons, his mother told him while grabbing his sister off the couch. Now, come on, I'm making pennies for lunch. Perking up at the mention of food, Percy pushed the subject of his very much disliked relative from his mind and began to follow his family into the kitchen. Before they could sit down, however, hell, before Percy was even able to make his sandwich request, the doorbell rang. The sudden noise causing Percy to jump slightly as his demigod and warforged reflexes instantly made him think of danger. Before he settled himself back down, He sighed. I'll get it, he groaned, already moving to answer the door. If it's a salesperson, tell them we aren't buying, Paul called out. Are door-to-door salespeople even a thing anymore? Percy thought. Ex- 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 Expressively, his his stepfather really needed to stop reading books set in the 60s. Opening the door, Percy already had a politish dismissal on the tip of his tongue when he opened the door, only to come up short when he saw just who had rung the bell. Hello, Perseus. Diana of Themyscira, dressed in a full-length trench coat over Percy and over. Percy was sure her bathing suit looking costume greeted her cousin after stopping him from slamming the door in her face. That is, what in the name of Hades do you want? He growled, his wolf stare in full effect. The older woman almost flinched before sighing. Can we speak inside? She requested. No. His family was inside, his mother, stepfather, and little sister. If any of them saw the Amazon, it would be 1,000 times harder to get the woman to leave. Not to mention how difficult it would be to explain to Estelle how he knew Wonder Woman and why she would come to their apartment. Actually, why was she there? They had never met before or interacted in any way. He only knew about her because of the news and some passing mentions of her from the various gods and immortals he regularly interacted with. The former group he guessed was also the reason she knew his name and where he lived. Perseus, I understand that you may not have the highest opinion of me. Well, no crap, Percy snapped. You left us. Your freaking family. To be massacred twice. You never bothered to help us out even once over the past 5 years. Hell, you didn't even bother to attend your own brother's funeral, he snarled. There were things that kept me away, Perseus. She defended herself. What? could have been more important than helping your blood fight off armies of monsters intent on destroying all human life on the planet. He almost yelled, trying his hardest not to lose his temper and alert his family and the neighbors about the conversation and who he was having it with. Diana looked down. Diana looked away guiltily. Discussions about Themyscira being on the world stage, treaties, agreements, borders, and sovereignty, not to mention my work with the Justice League. You couldn't miss 1 or 2 freaking days? Couldn't push back a meeting or 2? Do you know how the goddesses praised you? How they called you the prime example of a demigod? How you would... Okay, I can't do the voice anymore. How you would be the greatest asset, sword, or shield of Olympus, and all those who fought under its name, he demanded. Artemis had been the most vocal about it at first. She was so proud of the woman you could outmatch even Hercules and would stand above everyone else the gods could put on the field. She and her fellow Amazons. Her words of praise dried up and pretty quickly after she lost more than half of her huntresses during the Battle of New York, and not a single Amazon showed up, instead leaving it to Percy himself to direct the war efforts and defeat Kronos. Diana winced. I know I failed in many of my duties to Olympus and other family, Perseus, but please do not make the mistake of thinking that it was due to ill will, she pleaded. I came here to try and start to make amends. Percy snorted. Nothing you could offer would make up for all of us who died or were injured in the past 2 wars, Diana, he snapped. Maybe not. But it would be just another folly if I didn't at least try. The heroine took out a plastic card from one of her jacket pockets and gave it to Percy. This is an access card of the Hall of Justice in DC. She told him on the 4th. The sidekicks of Batman, Flash, Aquaman, and Green Arrow will take their first step in joining the Justice League, I offer you the, the same chance as them, she revealed, causing Percy to look at her in shock. You are without a doubt one of the greatest heroes this world has ever seen, Perseus. Mortal or otherwise, you can do a great deal of good the hidden beyond beyond the world hidden by the mist, and you deserve at least some recognition for what you have done for everyone who calls the earth their home. Percy looked down at the credit card shaped piece of plastic that his cousin had given him. Blue, blue, blue tinged silver with the golden JL logo of the league. It looked official without standing out too much at a passing glance. The son of Poseidon sighed. He really didn't like Diana, and as far as he was concerned, defending his family and those he held dear would always come before anything or anyone else. But she was right that Percy could I lost my place. Could do a great deal of good if he fought against the non-divine threats that plagued the world as well. I'll consider it, he told her. He told her, not bothering with looking at her. Don't expect me to join in whatever PR stunt campaign march that's gonna be set up for the others if I do show up. But I will consider at least meeting with the rest of the Justice League. Diana nodded. That is all I can ask, cousin. She bowed slightly and turned away. Do you offer this to the other surviving members of the Seven or Nico? He called after her, causing the older demigoddess to stop and turn to look at her over her shoulder. Piper McLane's skill in direct combat is commendable, but her reliance on charm speak would leave her vulnerable when faced with a strong-willed or inorganic or even simply unintelligent beings. Frank Zang, for all his raw strength from his transformation ability, is bound to New Rome and would not be able to act without the Senate's permission. Leo Valdez is legally still dead and has opted to send his time either on Calypso's island or wandering mostly isolated from the world. Annabeth Chase, while having unmatched skill with her dagger and a strong mind, would simply be too vulnerable against mortal weaponry. Hazel Levesque's powers over precise stones and metals would disrupt economics wherever she fought, and Nico D'Angelo's abilities are simply too. She tried to think of a way to explain how the young man's necromantic abilities would be unsuited to the image of the League and the mental well-being of those they were defending without sounding condemning about his ancestry. I get it, Percy waved her off. He may not like it, but he could at least somewhat agree with her reasonings about not offering the same honor to his closest friends and allies. Diana nodded and turned away once more, this time not being stopped as she made her way down the hall toward the elevators. Percy waited until the metal doors closed between the two demigods before going back into his family's apartment, stuffing the access card his cousin had given him into a pocket of his slept-in jeans. Who was it? Who was it, Percy? Paul asked his stepson as the teen fell into a chair beside him. Jehovah's Witness. Percy lied. Took a while to convince them to leave. His stepfather easily accepted the lie, but the look on his mother's face clearly said that she didn't. Thankfully, she didn't push him for answers. He didn't want to think about the implications of the card resting in his pocket or the offer buzzing in his head. Decent, I hope. I wanted to get in where Percy is at mentally and physically. His viewpoint on Wonder Woman said heroines, heroines, guilt, and reasons why the other members of the Seven aren't being given the same offer, yada yada. Be sure to click those follow and favorite boxes and drop a review for me. Yeah. Um. Okay, this was chapter 1. There's only 7 chapters to this, so this isn't going to take very long. The story for what it is for the first chapter, it's okay. I don't really like the colorful language that was used, but I was able to work my way around it. So yeah. Um so this is set in the Percy Jackson and Justice League universes. Sounds interesting. I will continue this, but it won't be anytime soon. I'm going to come back to this periodically, so don't expect uploads one right after the other of this story. For now, I'm Hardcore Christopher. If you would like to be a member of our community, hit the subscribe button down below. If you don't, it's okay. I still respect you. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that you chose to spend a little bit of your time here with me. Keep it hardcore, everyone.